I'm gonna try not to get emotional because I am the sum total of everyone I've ever met, and so lucky I absorbed some of it. I just want to say thank you to the Hollywood Foreign Press. It's incredible. Last time I was here, it was 1977.
Nobody expected to see him with a cane. When Sylvester Stallone stepped onto the red carpet at the Kennedy Center Honors, it wasn't the Hollywood icon people were talking about. It was the one detail that instantly sparked concern around the world. For the first time, the man who spent decades outrunning explosions, taking brutal hits, and performing his own stunts looked noticeably different. So what really happened to Sylvester Stallone, and what has a lifetime of pushing his body beyond its limits, finally cost him? Join us as we uncover the heartbreaking truth behind Stallone's life at 79. The script nobody would buy. The remarkable thing about Sylvester Stallone is that his career almost never happened, not because he lacked talent, but because he refused to give up on the one thing that mattered most to him. In 1975, he was offered money that could have changed his life, but there was one condition: someone else would play Rocky Balboa. Stallone said no. If he had made a different choice that day, Rocky would have starred another actor, and the name Sylvester Stallone might never have become a Hollywood legend. He was born in New York City, at the Hell's Kitchen neighborhood, into a working-class Italian-American family. The birth was complicated. Forceps damage to the lower left side of his face severed a nerve and left him with the partially paralyzed lip, slurred speech, and drooping eye that casting directors spent 20 years using as evidence that he was not leading man material. He grew up in rough neighborhoods, moved between New York and Philadelphia, got expelled from multiple schools, and bounced through several institutions before landing at the University of Miami, where he studied drama and understood for the first time that the things he wanted to say and the things he wanted to be could, theoretically, be expressed through performance. He moved to New York after college and spent years doing what every broke actor in New York does: surviving. He cleaned out lion cages at the Central Park Zoo. He worked as a movie theater usher. He appeared in a soft-core film called A Party at Kitty and Studs in 1970, which he has discussed in interviews with the complete lack of embarrassment of someone who understands that doing what you have to do to keep the lights on while building something real is not a source of shame. He had a small role in Woody Allen's Bananas. He got a few television appearances. He kept going. In January 1975, he watched the Muhammad Ali-Chuck Wepner fight. Chuck Wepner was a nobody, a journeyman fighter from New Jersey who nobody believed had any business being in the ring with the greatest boxer alive. He lasted 15 rounds. He knocked Ali down in the 9th. He lost, but barely. And the quality of what he had done, the refusal to go down, the absorption of punishment that would have ended lesser men, the sheer stubborn insistence on staying vertical, lodged itself inside Sylvester's head and did not leave. He went home and wrote the Rocky screenplay in 3.5 days. The script went to producers Irwin Winkler and Robert Chartoff, who wanted to make it. The studio had a different idea. They wanted to cast a real star in the lead role: James Caan, Ryan O'Neal, Burt Reynolds, any of several actors whose faces were already familiar to the audience that would need to buy tickets. The studio's offer to Sylvester was real money: $100,000 in one account for the screenplay alone. Walk away, take the check, let someone famous play Rocky. He said no. He had written it to play it. He said no repeatedly. Even as the offer went higher, he kept saying no until the studio ran out of alternatives and agreed to make the film with him in the lead role on a budget so tight, $1 million, that the crowd scenes at the end required actual people who showed up to watch a real fight to serve as extras. Rocky opened on November 21, 1976, and made $225 million worldwide. It won 3 Academy Awards, including Best Picture. Sylvester became the 3rd person in Oscar history, after Charlie Chaplin and Orson Welles, to be nominated for both Best Actor and Best Original Screenplay for the same film. The face nobody wanted became one of the most famous in the world. But behind the success was a price that would follow Sylvester Stallone for the rest of his life. So what exactly did it cost him? The body he used as a weapon. The physical commitment that Sylvester brought to his most iconic roles was not a performance decision, it was a philosophy. He genuinely believed that the camera could tell the difference between an actor pretending to absorb punishment and an actor actually absorbing it. And he structured his entire professional approach around never letting the camera see a lie. For the original Rocky, he trained for months with real boxing coaches and sparred with real fighters to build the credibility the role required. For Rocky II, he did it again. For Rocky III, he fought Hulk Hogan. Then, at the beginning of his professional wrestling career, and later described Hulk's precision and power in their fight scenes with obvious, genuine admiration, saying that Hulk's ability to make full-force contact look exactly right, while simultaneously protecting both of them from serious injury, was something he had never seen replicated by any other performer. Rocky IV was where philosophy collided most directly with physics. Dolph Lundgren was cast as Ivan Drago, the Soviet boxing machine built in a laboratory to destroy everything in his path. Sylvester, who was writing and directing the film as well as starring in it, made a decision during filming of the climactic fight that the crew apparently attempted to talk him out of. He told Dolph Lundgren to actually hit him. Dolph, a 6th-degree black belt and contact karate champion, did as instructed. The blows to Sylvester's chest were so forceful that his heart swelled from the trauma, and his blood pressure spiked to levels that required emergency intervention. He spent more than 8 days in intensive care, following the Rocky IV fight scenes, treated for what was described as bruising to his heart from the impact of real punches thrown by a man who had trained his entire life to hit things very hard. He recovered and finished the film. One thing he did not do the next time around was instruct his co-star to stop pulling punches. He moved on to the next project and carried the damage with him, which is what Sylvester has always done. The Rambo series produced its own accumulation: the cliffhanger sequences, the Demolition Man fight choreography, and then, at an age when most people in any physically demanding profession have long since stopped doing the most dangerous parts of their job, he made The Expendables. In a 2024 episode of his family's reality show, The Family Stallone, he described what happened on the set of that film. He revealed that he was directing and acting simultaneously, doing take after take of a physical sequence, and at some point felt a single sensation in his spine that he recognized immediately as something different from the usual soreness. He described it as one bang. A single impact that he could feel was not the same as all the others. He finished filming, but unlike Rocky, he never recovered from it. The damage from that Expendables slam, amplified by decades of accumulated physical trauma from every film before it, required a metal plate to be inserted into his neck. It required spinal fusion surgery, in which sections of his spine were fused together to prevent the movement that was causing the ongoing damage. By the time he appeared on the Kennedy Center red carpet in December 2025, he had undergone 7 back surgeries related to the injuries sustained during his film career. His daughter Scarlett said in the same episode of The Family Stallone that her whole childhood she had watched her father be in pain. Jennifer Flavin described the surgery period as a scary time for their family. Sylvester himself told the camera that he had done stupid stuff, He said there was something very unromantic about doing your own stunts. He also said, "Don't do your own stunts." But the damage wasn't limited to his body. Around the same time his health was deteriorating, another part of his life was beginning to fall apart. The marriage he nearly lost. In June 2022, Jennifer Flavin Stallone filed for divorce after 25 years of marriage. The filing cited the irreconcilable differences and the social media signals that preceded the formal filing. Jennifer having Sylvester's tattoo removed from her arm. Sylvester posting photographs of his dog online in a way that prompted immediate tabloid speculation, generated the kind of coverage that neither of them appeared to have wanted. They had met in 1988. She was a model, and he was already Rocky and Rambo, and one of the most recognizable human beings on Earth. She had initially wanted nothing to do with him, describing the beginning of their relationship as anything but smooth. He famously ended a relationship with her via Federal Express letter in 1994, a method of delivering news that he has since acknowledged was not among his better decisions, and then reportedly reconciled with her when he showed up at her door in person. They got married in 1997, and their daughters, Sophia, Sistine, and Scarlett, were born between 1996 and 2002. In September 2022, 3 months after the divorce filing, they called it off after reconciling. In interviews that followed the reconciliation, both Sylvester and Jennifer described the near divorce as a wake-up call, a confrontation with what they stood to lose that produced a different understanding of what they actually wanted. In 2023, they renewed their vows in a ceremony in Florence, Italy, in front of their 3 daughters. The relationship that had been built across 35 years, that had survived the pressures of a career like Sylvester's, the constant filming, the physical demands, the specific isolation of a man who was simultaneously everywhere and very far from home, had come very close to ending and then did not. They walked the Kennedy Center red carpet together in December 2025, with his hand on the cane and her beside him. However, behind the public appearances was a private story few people ever heard, one that began with a phone call from a hospital. The dying man who needed Rocky. In 2024, UCLA Health's 3 Wishes program, a palliative care initiative that attempts to honor the final wishes of patients who are near death, contacted Sylvester Stallone's team on behalf of a patient who was in his final days and whose last request involved Rocky Balboa. The patient was a man who had grown up watching Rocky and whose relationship with those films had been woven into his understanding of what it meant to keep going when everything was telling you to stop. The philosophy that Sylvester had built Rocky around, the refusal to be defined by how hard you get hit, the insistence that moving forward is the only meaningful response to being knocked down, had become the framework this man used to understand his own illness and his own fight. Sylvester recorded a personal video message for the dying man. He delivered it directly, in character and out of character simultaneously, in the way that only someone who has spent 50 years inhabiting Rocky Balboa can deliver the words Rocky speaks. The man received the message with his family there. The UCLA Health team documented it as one of the most meaningful moments in the program's history. That is what 50 years of Rocky Balboa had become. Not just a legendary film career or a cultural legacy, but the power to bring comfort to someone in their final days. And perhaps that's exactly why, just a year later, one of America's highest cultural institutions chose to honor Sylvester Stallone. The Kennedy Center, the cane, and what it all means. The 2025 Kennedy Center Honors recognized Sylvester alongside George Strait, Gloria Gaynor, Kiss, and Michael Crawford. The Kennedy Center description of the honor noted that recipients have each had an impact on the rich history of American life and culture through the performing arts. He walked that red carpet with a cane from his most recent back surgery. His representative confirmed the reason immediately, with the specific tone of a team that understood the photographs were already moving and wanted the accurate explanation in circulation as fast as possible. Sly is using a cane due to back surgery. He appreciates everyone's concern and support. Fan responses on social media were immediate and emotional. People who had grown up watching him describing the difficulty of seeing him with the cane. The visual collision between the man in the photographs and the man they carried in their memories from films they had watched at ages when they believed that the people on screen were invincible. He is also, at 79, still working at a level that most people retire from decades earlier. Season 2 of Tulsa King premiered on Paramount Plus in September 2024 and was renewed for a third season set for 2026. He is a special ambassador to Hollywood, appointed by President Trump in January 2025, alongside Jon Voight and Mel Gibson. He met with Pope Francis and his family in a private Vatican audience in 2023. He paints. His canvases have sold at auction, the artistic instinct that predates the acting career expressing itself in a medium that does not require a metal plate in the neck or 7 back surgeries. He works out 5 days a week, even now. The workout routine has adapted to accommodate what his body can and cannot do after 50 years of physical cinema, but it has not stopped. The protein-rich diet, egg whites, summer squash, broiled chicken and fish, is still in place. The discipline that built the body that made those films possible is still present in some form, pointed now at maintenance rather than transformation. Despite countless death hoaxes online, Stallone is alive, continues working, and has never been diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. What he does have is the physical legacy of a career that required him to spend 50 years absorbing impacts designed for human bodies considerably younger and better padded than his were by the time some of them arrived. Yet despite everything his career demanded from him, there was one role Stallone always tried not to fail at: being a father. The 3 daughters and what they chose. Sophia, Sistine, and Scarlett all appeared in The Family Stallone on Paramount Plus, the reality show that launched in 2023 and was renewed for a second season within 7 days of its premiere, a number that confirmed the audience appetite for the domestic version of Sylvester Stallone that the action films had never provided. The show gave viewers something that none of the Sylvester's films had ever managed to provide: Sly Stallone at home with his children, being a father in the imperfect, warm way that fathers are when the cameras are pointed at breakfast, rather than at a boxing ring. Sistine has built a modeling career alongside her acting work. Sophia has been developing in the entertainment industry. Scarlett spoke on the show about watching her father undergo surgery after surgery across her entire childhood and described its emotional weight. The 3 daughters are the most tangible evidence of the life that existed alongside the filmography, the one that the cane was protecting, that the 7 surgeries were getting him back to, that the Kennedy Center honor was being accepted on behalf of. The 3 daughters are the clearest proof that Stallone's greatest legacy was never confined to the screen. Yet even as family became the center of his life, he wasn't finished creating new chapters in his career. Tulsa King Season 2 premiered on September 15, 2024 on Paramount Plus. Season 3 is set to premiere in 2026. The show, created by Taylor Sheridan, the man behind Yellowstone and 1883, cast Stallone as Dwight Manfredi, a New York mafia boss who gets sent to Tulsa, Oklahoma, to establish the mob's presence there after a 25-year prison sentence, and who finds himself repeatedly confused and delighted and challenged by a world that is almost entirely unlike anything he has prepared for. The character is funny in a way that Sylvester has rarely been given room to be on screen. The comedy of a man whose entire operating system was built for one environment being dropped into a completely different one, and whose stubbornness refuses to let him acknowledge that the environment has changed, is something Sylvester plays with obvious pleasure. The show has been one of Paramount Plus's biggest hits, generating the kind of subscriber engagement that streaming platforms use to justify Season 3 commitments before Season 2 has finished airing. At 79, with 7 back surgeries behind him and a cane in his hand on the Kennedy Center red carpet, Sylvester Stallone is the lead of an active streaming drama with a 3rd season already confirmed. He is painting canvases that sell at auction. He is meeting with the Pope and attending presidential inaugurations and delivering video messages to dying men who grew up believing in Rocky Balboa. After everything Sylvester Stallone has sacrificed for the roles that made him a legend, do you think doing his own stunts was worth the price he ultimately paid? And what is your favorite Stallone movie of all time? Share your thoughts with us in the comments section. Remember to like, share, and subscribe for more. Also, click the next video showing on your screen. You will enjoy it.